On this episode of K-Pod,
what's it like living in South Korea? What do we like about living in Korea, and what do we not like? Today we're going to talk about our top 5 pros and cons of living in Korea and more on this episode of K-Pod.
we record our podcast in downtown Changwon City, South Korea, at the only Irish bar in town, O'Brien's Irish Bar and Restaurant. They are located in Jungang-dong, right across from the International Hotel on the 3rd floor. If you are in the area, be sure to stop by and check them out for some good food, drinks, and one of the best atmospheres in the area. O'Brien's Irish Bar and Restaurant, Changwon City.
It's K-Pod, Life in Korea, with your hosts Scott, Marco, and Adam. Welcome back to K-Pod, Life in Korea, the podcast that brings you some of the lives and people working and living right here in South Korea and in Changwon City in particular. I'm one of the hosts, Adam. With me this week is Scott. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks.
And across from me is Marco. Marco, how are you?
Doing great, thank you.
And our guest today is Saber. Saber, how are you?
I'm doing well.
So today we're going to talk about our overall life views in Korea. I myself have lived here for on and off 9 years. I came here in 2008, left in 2010, did a year teaching in Europe, and the money was not so good, so I came back here in 2012, and I just renewed my contract for another year in the public school system. Scott, how long have you lived here?
I came here in 2001, I believe, so it's coming up on 18 years.
Nice. So you must really like it.
No, not at all.
Marco, how long have you been here?
I've been here for 3 years.
And you enjoy it?
I do.
Great. Saber, how about you?
4 years.
4 years. Mm-hmm. Are you planning to stay, or do you have a plan to go home at any point?
I don't have any plans yet, either way.
Okay, so you're comfortable at the moment, though?
Yeah.
That's good. All right, what is one of the hardest changes you had to make when first coming to Korea? Marco?
Mostly just learning the landscape.
Okay.
I mean, there's a big like foreigner crowd in Changwon, and then Busan is really close. So like there wasn't as much culture shock as you might expect moving to an East Asian country from North America. So, but it was mostly just like learning the landscape, figuring out where things were. Some of like the etiquette, I guess, would go with that though. Like one weird thing was, like in the West, when you're telling someone to like follow you, you might hold like your finger up and like one finger and just be like, come here. Mm-hmm. But like if you do that, that's considered extremely rude.
Yeah, pointing at someone with your finger is...
Well, not even just pointing. Like if your hand's turned up and you're just using one finger saying, come here. Like they use that as like a seduction thing in cartoons or like in movies and stuff. You know, there's like, come here. But like, if you do that, even if your hand is open and it's turned up and you're waving someone towards you, that's considered a little bit rude. You can do that with children, but not with like other adults. What they do, their hand is like down and like they're like waving it. And for me, I'm like in the West, it's like you're shooing someone away.
Right.
So like things like that were a little bit difficult to get used to because you really don't want to offend people. But most people are understanding.
I've also heard just pointing your finger at someone is quite rude. Like they do that with animals here, like with dogs. So you're supposed to do it with an open palm when you're kind of pointing towards someone or gesturing towards someone. Saber, what are some of the hardest changes you've had to make?
I don't know. I don't think it was too difficult to adapt to living here because you can pick up those cultural differences pretty easily. Like getting money back, you were like giving money to someone. You're supposed to like hold your elbow or do two hands. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's pretty easy to pick up. I think just like sort of adapting to working all day and like being stressed out with, having to teach children. I think that was like the biggest thing is just like adapting to work-life scheduling in Korea mostly.
Okay. Scott, how about you?
I think when I first got here, the biggest thing that was difficult was because I have some food allergies was figuring out what I could eat and what I couldn't. Mm-hmm. All the signs, like coming from a small place in Canada, I don't have a very good attention span or noticing things.
Okay.
So like just noticing there's all kinds of businesses on the second floor.
Can be a little bit overwhelming.
And stuff like that, yeah. That's pretty much it. And directions. Mm-hmm. Just getting to know my way around, like finding places like where the foreign bars were and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but nothing major.
Yeah, I'd say for me, my first job here was at a Hagwon, and I had to drive from place to place. I had to drive to various companies teaching conversational and business English, and driving here was a nightmare for me. After that first year, I just told myself I'm never driving here again, and which is pretty good because actually I like the public transportation system here. It's pretty reliable for the most part. I work in the countryside, and I still have no issues getting to work by bus. But we'll get into that later when we talk about our pros. So today we are going to go through our top 5 cons of living in Korea and our top 5 pros. So let's start off by talking about the negative, and then we can end it on the positive. Marco, do you have a top 5 list of cons or disadvantages of living here?
Yeah, I can think of a few cons. One and is the lack of public trash cans.
Okay.
And I know, like, you might see some in Seoul. I mean, they're still sparse compared to what we have in the West. But like here in Changwon, I was told it's because people were bringing down their trash from their like homes and putting them just in the public trash cans. So they stopped.
that was a big issue. Yeah.
Yeah, but I hate not having public trash cans because I mean, and it's fine. I'll just carry my trash until I find one, or like find a restroom or somewhere where I can throw it away. But I don't like the lack of public trash cans, and I love that they recycle and they compost here. Mm-hmm. But it can be very confusing the way they have things divided up, like
Right.
in the apartment buildings. Like sometimes it doesn't make sense. And then even like the ajashi, like I'll be looking at it and I'm reading it and reading the sign. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, no, you can put it here. I'm like, but it says what this sign says. And he's like, no. And so recycling is good the way, but it's confusing the way it is done here.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Other cons, the driving.
Okay.
Do
you drive yourself, or are you meaning other drivers?
I have not driven in Korea, but sometimes I get really nervous because it just often feels like there is no rhyme or reason. People are cutting each other off left and right, and no matter who's at fault, it's never their fault.
Yeah.
Like if there's an accident, like I watched this guy cut somebody off and then get a fender bender, and then he got out and started yelling at the girl, and I was standing there watching. I was like, that was your fault. You cut her off.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's tough here because, there's still a strong sense of Confucianism and respecting your elders. So if you're a younger person and some old guy runs into you, unfortunately...
Well, that is actually my number one con and I see, and I don't want to be offensive when I say that, but I can just see a lot of flaw. Based on my own perspective and my understanding of the world, to me, the Confucian influence seems very flawed. Like, I understand that we should respect our elders. I respect my grandparents. I respect my siblings, but my sister's 10 years older than me. Mm-hmm. But she has made some poor life choices.
Okay.
As have I, not to be judgment, but like, I can't even call her out on that. Like here, that would be, well, she's a woman, so maybe I could because I'm a man. And the other thing that would also be sexism. That's another, my fifth con is there is a lot of sexism, again, based in Confucianism.
Right. Yeah. So are you thinking that Korea needs to learn more from a merit-based system instead of just respecting seniors, no matter what?
I think everybody everywhere needs to learn more about the merit system.
Right.
Instead of trying to base it on age or blood or color even, or meeting quotas or things. It's just you choose who's best for the job.
Right.
I'm very old, so I love it. Okay. It's funny, I've had Koreans do that with me. I should respect them. Mm-hmm. But it ends up I'm older than they are.
Right. Yeah, you get a common first question when meeting Korean people here is, how old are you? And it's basically they want to know how they should speak to you, whether they should be, super respectful or if they can speak to you as an equal. Okay, Saber, do you have a top 5 con list?
Yes. I didn't rank them. These are just random order. The pollution is pretty bad here.
Air pollution?
Yeah, the air pollution. I don't really care for that. I don't know who would.
Right.
Also, the clothing sizing. I feel like I've seen tall Koreans and things like that. And I still don't see the sizing reflecting that, or even like heavier Koreans. And I'm like, where do you guys shop? Please tell me so I can buy shoes, you know? And then I was the same, cars and like motorcycles driving on sidewalks and things like that. I'm like, I don't want to get run over walking on a sidewalk.
Yeah, it can be dangerous.
Or if you're in like a taxi cab and they're like zooming down and then they have tucked away their seatbelt buckle, so you can't even put on your seatbelt, and you're like, I'm going to die in a taxi cab.
Yeah, I've heard some taxi drivers actually consider it an insult if you put on your seatbelt, because they're like, what do you think, I'm a bad driver or something? It's like, no, I just,
Yes.
terrible things happen.
That's what I'm telling you right now.
Well, you can always sit in the front seat, because if you do not put on your seatbelt, then the car will yell at them.
That's true.
So then you will not be offensive.
But then I don't feel like I have a chauffeur.
Fair enough.
Also, like sometimes cultural differences, like for age and things like that, I feel like get in the way of making Korean friends. And that's sad for me because I would like to make a lot of Korean friends while I'm here. Or even like friends in general, like foreign friends, because we are mostly all on year contracts. And so having to like become good friends with these people and then they leave while you're staying is like really sad, because it's like, oh, maybe we'll never see each other again, or I'll be here for such a long time that I won't be able to go see you while we're still sort of close. So it'll be like really different. Okay. That's 5.
All right, great. I'm just going to say for my top 5, homesickness sometimes can be sad when you're missing your friends and family. Like I mentioned earlier in this episode, driving here is a nightmare. Finding a parking spot is very difficult. Air pollution is on my list. People ignoring traffic lights and not giving respect to pedestrians is probably my biggest pet peeve here. You get a lot of cars driving through red lights or turning and not giving you the right of way, which you deserve as a pedestrian, I think. Scott, do you have a top 5 con list?
Was that 5 you just gave?
Yeah, homesickness, traffic, air pollution, people ignoring traffic lights, and not giving respect to pedestrians. So, yeah, I guess the last 2 were kind of intertwined a bit.
All right, I have quite a few of the same that you guys said, a couple that maybe weren't mentioned. One for me is smells.
Okay.
Especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Like if you're stopped at a light waiting across the street, some of the drainage.
Yeah, you can kind of smell the sewer or something, right? Yeah.
Or the ginkgo trees in the fall.
Oh.
Yeah, those smell like vomit, right?
Yeah. Making friends and people coming, going, leaving. Because I've been here so long, I've met a lot of people that have left. So, which I think one of you mentioned. Weather. I don't like the summers here. I don't like the humidity. And it's not cold enough for me in the winter. Communication sometimes, but that's more my own fault for not being able to, fully communicate in their language. Number 1 for me was the seatbelt thing in taxis.
Yeah.
I can't stand when I get in a taxi and they've, like you said, have them tucked away or underneath a seat mat.
Yep.
I'll literally get out.
Oh, really?
Another taxi.
Wow.
Okay. All right, let's move on to...
Let's put it together to make a final list.
Okay.
I think we all talked about the roads and driving and cars and stuff.
All right.
So driving's on there?
Yeah, that was like on everybody's list.
Yeah.
Air pollution, I think, was...
Air pollution was on a few lists.
How about seatbelts? Is it just 2 of us?
You two
It was
both
2 of
said
us,
seatbelts, yeah.
You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, I said it.
Of
Of course I agree.
I don't care. I don't put mine on until I get nervous.
We can lump that in. We can lump
You
that
can be
into the
offended. You
driving.
need to know that you're making me nervous.
We can lump that in with driving, maybe.
Yeah.
So driving, traffic, seatbelts,
Yeah.
air pollution,
I think the friends leaving.
Friends leaving, that was on
friends leaving.
multiple lists as well, like friends coming and going. Which that would really like only apply though if you're not here for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
How about the weather? I was the only one that said that, but doesn't bother you?
I mean, I'm from Ohio. Well, I lived in Ohio for 10 years, and it'll be winter in the morning, spring in the afternoon, and summer in the evening, and fall at night. Like, you get Like it'll snow and then be like 90 degrees in the same day. So this weather here is fine because it's predictable.
So that means it doesn't bother you?
Does not
Doesn't really
me.
bother me either.
And then when I like the mild winters, I hate snow.
How about homesickness?
No, for me, I mean,
I think with like technology now, like I FaceTime my mom all the time, so I don't feel as homesick.
Okay.
I think it was like really bad when I first got here, but once you get over that, like
there are certain locations I miss about home where like I used to go. Like if I was having a bad day, like I might just go to this certain park. But you can find places like that here as well.
Trash cans?
that I could see that one because I don't like seeing trash on the roads
And
and
it's
like especially when
everywhere.
you're downtown.
Let's just say garbage then. Garbage
Yeah.
is everywhere.
Yeah.
A lot of litter bugs.
And then it's for some of them, it's like their job. They're throwing the flyers out the windows of their cars as they're driving down the street
That should stop. That's illegal. Why do they keep doing it?
because they ajumas and ajashis clean it up every morning.
Oh,
It gives them jobs,
Yeah.
like retired
I see.
people. That's why I try to throw as much garbage on the ground as I can. Sometimes I buy snacks and just open it and throw it on the ground.
I did see last time I was in Seoul, they do have big containers for like recycling bottles and things like that now.
Yeah, it's like
popping up.
so I've been seeing recycling, not trash cans, but recycling cans around.
All right, so let's say number one is traffic, driving, seatbelts. Number two, air pollution.
I can agree with that. It wasn't on my list, but yeah.
Number three, garbage, being in the wrong places
Yeah.
rather than the right places. Our top three. What about smells? Bother anybody?
I mean, I'm not a fan of those ginkgo trees.
Yeah, but those are seasonal.
Yeah.
So it's not like it affects us all year round.
Oh, we
Yeah.
all said people leaving.
Yeah,
So
people
Yeah.
We'll
leaving.
make that number four.
Okay.
I think
One more.
the recycling thing you said
Oh,
was
the
like having to organize it properly.
And it's really confusing. And then you can get charged up to $2,000 if you do it incorrectly.
Really?
Yeah.
And some apartments you have to do it on a certain day.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Ours aren't like that.
No. But would that go with garbage or is that just
That might go with garbage, I suppose.
I actually have garbage on my Pro,
really?
but I'll get into that. Sexism?
Yeah.
Maybe-
But that could be like cultural differences because you had said communication
Okay, so
too. So we could just put
cultural
that all
differences.
Yeah, cultural
under.
differences.
Yeah, cultural
we all said
differences,
something similar to that.
xenophobia.
So,
Yeah.
So one is driving, traffic, seatbelts. Two, air pollution. Three, garbage. Four,
People leaving.
people
Coming from-
leaving. And five, cultural differences. All right.
And next, we're going to talk about the pros, the advantages of living in Korea, some of the benefits, the good things. Let's end on a positive note here. So, top 5 pros. I'll list mine first. I think the low cost of living is pretty good. It's pretty cheap here, pretty cheap to live here. Big fan of the high-speed internet. It's the fastest internet in the world. The ability to travel in Asia. So I've been to Japan 9 times. I'm going on 10 this summer. I've been to China, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, all over. Philippines. So I like Korea's proximity to different countries in Asia. Safety is a really big positive one for me. I think it's relatively safe here. Every country has its instances of crime, but I think here it's quite low. And my top one is public transportation. As I mentioned, it's quite reliable here. And I have little to no issues with getting around on the bus or when I'm in bigger cities by subway. Marco, what are your top 5 pros of living in Korea?
Well, some of mine are similar to yours. Yes, public transportation. Like even though like the taxis can be scary sometimes, taxis here are great. They're cheap. Also, again, like a lot of my cons are also pros. Like I do, like I hate the way the recycling is done, but I love the fact that they do recycling.
Right.
And I love that they do the compost. I think that is brilliant because it's, especially because agriculture is a big deal here in Korea. The easy transition to living here, like the people here, like maybe I can just say the people, like Korean people, for the most part, are very great. And the younger generations, like, given their history and a lot of a reputation for Korean being a bit conservative or closed-minded, the younger generations are extremely open-minded.
Right.
And they love to learn about other places and they love to teach about Korea. So it makes the transition very easy.
Yes.
I also, Norbang.
Noraebang,
and
singing room.
and like singing rooms and like the bowling alleys and the fact that they're so numerous. Like they have a lot. Like in Korea, there are a lot of things like that to do. Virtual reality cafes,
Like themed cafes.
yeah,
and
themed things, escape rooms. Like they have a lot of themed things that are really fun to do. And food. Food is a big pro.
Like Korean style food, or just like, what do you mean?
Korean food.
Like Korean food?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm
delivery or something like that. Just
I mean, all around food, all around. Like I like I don't like gimbap, and I don't really like ramen, but like I don't have to eat that. There is a wide range of food, and not just like foreign foods. Like within Korea, there is a huge spectrum of different types of Korean foods. So there's a little bit of something for everybody.
Okay, great. So that's your top 5. And Saber, what are your top 5 pros for living in Korea?
I think all of mine have actually been said too. So I also put ease of travel, like getting around to different countries in the area is pretty inexpensive. Then public transportation is amazing here. The cost of living, like healthcare and things like that, are really low. We have like friends from all over the world. Like the expat community is really good here. And then I had like delivery services are really amazing. Like you can get anything delivered super fast to your door, which is great.
Okay. And Scott, do you have a top 5 list of advantages of living in Korea?
Yeah, I have quite a few actually, but again, most of them are mentioned. But a couple of things that weren't mentioned. I said making friends because, well, it was mentioned, the expat community. So meeting new people, everybody's pretty friendly here.
I think especially Changwon in particular is a very tight-knit foreign community here.
And I'll put Koreans in that too. So as Marco mentioned, we'll just say people in general are very nice. I like the 24-hour life.
That is pretty great.
Everything's open, you know, like... Not even though these days I'm in bed and sleep by 11 or whatever, but I like the fact that if you need something, you can go out and get it at any time.
Yeah,
And
most things are readily available.
delivery, like Saber said, everything comes quick. Travel, the living costs, but more on the aspect of most foreigners here with jobs. A lot of their living costs are covered with their job. So I think that's a big advantage when it comes to living here. It gives you the ability to maybe save money if that's what you want to do. Safety. I feel safe wherever I go. There's not an alley or anything that I can look down and be worried about walking down it. And the garbage thing, I like the garbage system. The fact that you can put your garbage out every night of the week except one. Where in Canada, it's usually like once a week they come to pick up your garbage. I don't know about the U.S. And I like the fact you have to buy the garbage bags to put your garbage in. You know, that's what pays for the whole system.
Yes.
So that's why you can put it out every night. So one night a week is recycling, and the other 4 nights are garbage, and Sundays are nothing.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that you can, when your garbage gets full, you can just put it out.
I find also they're starting to charge for plastic bags in like GS25 or CU, and I think it's like 21 or something like that. But I think that is encouraging a lot of people to use reusable bags when shopping nowadays.
All right, so let's come up with a final top 5.
I think public transportation.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah.
We'll say getting around and travel.
Yeah.
It's
Combine them.
also a great middle place to see Asia.
Yeah.
So getting around and travel.
Safety.
Safety, number 2.
Like it's gonna be a hard transition back if I ever leave. Like not just leaving my phone sitting on the bar to go to the bathroom or something.
Living cost.
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, we could add that.
Like having things paid for you, and actually most things are pretty cheap too. So 2 more.
Safety?
I was-
said
That's
that.
safety.
Oh,
We
said
say
safety?
people
Yeah, people.
People.
in general. Like Koreans are helpful, and the expat communities are
Yeah.
very great.
Food?
Food.
Yeah, the food. Korean food's the best.
Korean food's pretty good.
Number 5, food.
And then you always have the option for any other kind of food if
Yeah.
you're not feeling Korean food as well.
Which is where I fit. All right, so number 1, we've got traveling and just transportation, getting around in Korea. Safety number 2. Living costs number 3. The people in general number 4. And food number 5.
We're out of time for this episode. Once again, we covered our overall views of living in Korea, our top 5 cons, and our top 5 pros of living in Korea. And we'd like to know your thoughts on this subject. If you have any comments or thoughts, always feel free to leave your comments wherever you find this episode. Don't forget to like and share. Follow us on the Changwoner Facebook page, YouTube, iTunes, and wherever you find podcasts. Once again, I'm Adam, and you can find me at Adam Maxwell Kent on Facebook and at EverStalwart on Instagram. Marco, where can people find you?
You can find me at kpop.global, or my Instagram is Marco Baille, Baille.
Scott, where can people find you?
You can find me anywhere with Changwoner, that's Changwon with an ER, or at this podcast website, k-pod-cast.com.
I'd like to thank our guest again, Saber. Thank you for coming. And where can people find you?
I'm also at kpop.global.
Remember, if you have any questions regarding living in Korea, you can get in contact with us at any time, wherever you find this podcast, and we'd be happy to help you out. If you liked this podcast and show, like it, rate it, share it, leave your comments, and we'll see you again next time. We record our podcast in downtown Changwon City, South Korea, at the only Irish bar in town, O'Brien's Irish Bar and Restaurant. They are located in Jungdong, right across from the International Hotel on the 3rd floor. If you're in the area, be sure to stop by and check them out for some great food, drinks, and one of the best atmospheres in the area. O'Brien's Irish Bar and Restaurant, Changwon City.